Hello, my dear students, and welcome to your online class. My name is teacher CosmeRobalino, and today we are going to work with our book. So here is our Achievers B2 book, right? With the unit number 5, which is called Mirror, Mirror. And in this unit, we are going to talk about the human body and self-image. Okay, so it's an interesting, very interesting topic. Okay, so as you can see, let me see, maybe you are not looking at the book, right? Okay, so this is our book, and okay, so let's look at the questions before we go into our reading. Okay, here you can see 3 pictures, and these 3 pictures, the first one says Richard before the accident, the second picture says after the operation, and the last picture says a recent photo showing how Richard's new face has developed. Okay, so the question number 1 here says, can you guess what happened to Richard Norris? And what's your first reaction when you see photos like this? Okay, so they took the 3 photos, even though it's the same person, but I would say they look totally different. So we are going to find out the story of this person. So today we are going to learn a reading strategy, which is called scanning. Okay, scanning. And what is scanning? Scanning means I'm going to read the questions first, I'm going to look for the answers, and then I'm going to answer the questions directly, okay, from the text. Okay, so let me read the questions for you. Well, the instructions say, read the article, are the following sentences true, false, or not mentioned? Justify your answers. Question number 1. It's common for people who have been shot in the face to suffer problems with their sense of hearing. True, false, or not mentioned. 2. It took 3 days after the operation for Richard to regain his sense of smell. Question 3. Richard wasn't particularly self-conscious about his appearance after the accident. 4. Richard Norris' accident happened when he was on a hunting trip. 5. The donor of the new face also donated her body parts to different people. And number 6, before the operation, people were generally considerate about not looking at Richard too much. Okay, so let's go to the story. Here you have the story, and what we are going to do is read and listen. As you can see, the 3 pictures have been included here. So we are going to read and listen, check the pronunciation, and then we are going to answer the questions that we read beforehand. Here you go.
Facing up to a new life. If you'd heard Richard Norris's story just a few years ago, you might have assumed that it was the plot of some science fiction movie. But his is just one of a growing number of incredible examples of possibly the most jaw-dropping development in surgical history, the facial transplant. When Richard Norris first saw his new face in a mirror, 3 days after a 36-hour operation to complete the world's most extensive face transplant to date, he was lost for words. But doctors conveyed wonder on his behalf as Norris continued relearning to talk. "This is so cool," one of his surgeons kept repeating. Norris, 37, had lived behind a mask since a gun accident took away his lips, nose, and the front part of his tongue 15 years ago. Unusually for victims of facial gun injuries, his vision was largely unaffected, and so, as soon as possible after his surgery at the University of Maryland Medical Center, he asked to see the results, doctors reported. On the same day, Norris of Hillsville, Virginia, told them that he could smell too. The operation took place on the 19th and 20th of March. A week later, he was able to brush his teeth and shave. His new face, said lead surgeon Eduardo Rodriguez, is a combination of two individuals, a true blend. A picture of how he looks now shows just how his face has changed since his high school graduation in 1993, and since the gun accident that destroyed much of his face. Stitches along his hairline and neck and scarring round the eyelids showed the extent of his surgery. Norris had been living as a recluse, avoiding eating in public and shopping for groceries at night. Since the accident, of which the hospital revealed few details, he has not had a full-time job and has already undergone numerous life-saving and reconstructive operations. "This accidental injury just destroyed everything," said Rodriguez. His friends and colleagues went on to start getting married, having children, owning homes. He wants to make up for all that. The operation, which involved more than 150 doctors, nurses and other staff, was just part of a remarkable 72 hours in which surgeons also transplanted a heart, both lungs, a liver and a kidney from the same anonymous donor to other patients. For Norris, the surgeons transplanted teeth, the upper and lower jaw, a portion of the tongue and all facial tissue from the scalp to the base of the neck. Rodriguez described Norris's reaction to seeing a mirror as one of the most emotional moments for him, as well as for all of us. He put down the mirror and thanked me and hugged me, which was a wonderful gift. It is a surreal experience to look at him. It's hard not to stare. Before, people used to stare at Richard because he wore a mask and they wanted to see the deformity. Now, they have another reason to look at him, and it is really amazing.
Okay, so here we have the questions, okay, and we are going to answer. Okay, so these are the answers. These are the answers, and I'm going to validate my answers by clicking on the check button. Yay, all of them are correct. So now I'm gonna flip the page to see the grammar and some interesting story on the other side of the page. As you can see, there is a grammar point that is going to be similar to something that we have been doing the last week. As you can see, the grammar is about the second and third conditionals. Okay, so let's take a look at what the book says about the conditionals. It says here that we use the second conditional, or the type 1, right? To talk about situations that imaginary or not likely. Okay, so this is the type 2, right? Okay, for example, it says here, if he didn't have such big feet, he'd be a better dancer. So, number 1, he has big feet, so he cannot be a good dancer, right? And the second sentence says, if Japanese wasn't so difficult, I might start learning it. So number 1, Japanese is difficult, so I haven't started it, right? Okay, now here it talks about something very interesting, right? It says that we can use unless instead of if to mean if not. I wouldn't pick up that snake unless I was absolutely sure it wasn't poisonous. Okay, so I it says here unless means the same that if not, right? So it says here I wouldn't pick up that snake. So I am picking up the snake because I am sure that it isn't poisonous, right? Okay. So now this is the second conditional. Let's go to the third conditional. It says here that we use the third conditional to talk about hypothetical situations in the past. So this is the type 3. Today we're talking about the type 2 and the type 3. Let's look at the first example only. If you'd put the chicken away in the fridge, the cat wouldn't have eaten it. Oh, so number one, you didn't put the chicken away in the fridge, and as a result, the cat ate the chicken, right? Oof. So it's something we cannot change, right? So remember, we said that this is an hypothesis, right? Because we cannot change the past. And the second sentence says, if she told the teacher about the bullying, they could have stopped it sooner. So number one, she didn't tell the teacher about the bullying, so they weren't able to stop it any sooner, right? Okay. So now we are with an exercise with a story from Nadine Stair, okay? The instructions say, read the text and complete it with your own ideas, then listen and check what Nadine Stair actually said. Which do you think, which do you find most intriguing and why? So for example, the question, the sentence, well, it says here, Nadine Stair was an ordinary lady from Louisville, Kentucky. On her 14th birthday, she asked herself what she would do differently if she had her life to live over again. Here are some of the things she said. Okay, so basically, it talks about being sillier, more chances. This could be like being sillier, taking more chances, probably climbing more mountains and swimming more rivers, probably eating more ice cream and fewer beans, maybe facing more actual troubles, but maybe fewer imaginary dance, maybe go to more dances, ride on more merry-go-rounds, and maybe smell more daisies. Okay, so let's listen what she has to say, and then we are going to come back to these sentences.
If I had my life to live over again, I'd be sillier. I would take more chances. I would climb more mountains and swim more rivers. I would eat more ice cream but less beans. I would have more actual troubles, but I'd have fewer imaginary ones. I would go to more dances. I would ride more merry-go-rounds. I would pick more daisies.
Okay, so I think we had a more or less accurate idea. So let's check the answers. Nope, we don't have more answers. I mean, we don't have any answers. So let's go to the next exercise, shall we? Okay, so here we have some sentences to be converted into if conditional sentences using the third conditional sentence, or type 3. So let me read the instructions. It says convert the pairs of sentences into 1/3 conditional sentence. Then say what do you think happened next. Use contracted forms as in the example. So example number 1, they arrived late they missed the train. Conditional sentence. If they hadn't arrived late, they wouldn't have missed the train. Okay, so you are going to pause the video, okay? Write down the sentences, and then you're going to check the answers on the video, okay? So here are the answers. I hope that you have something similar, okay? Otherwise, you can always check and improve your grammar skills. Now, in the last exercise that we are gonna do today, we have 5 sentences, and the instructions say rewrite the sentences using unless instead of if. Make any other changes necessary and use contracted forms. Okay, so please stop the video and do the sentences on your notebook, and then you can check the answers. Here are the answers, and as you can see, every sentence it has the preposition unless. Okay, my dear students, thank you very much for your attention to the video. Don't forget to ask any questions that you may have about the topic or about the subject. Our subject obviously is English level B2. I hope you have a good time. I hope that you take good care of yourselves, and I will see you in class. Bye now.